I'm Jorge Alvarez.
Do you have any favorite books?
So the thing is, historically, I didn't read. I was a big SparkNotes person. I was that person. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of men with podcasts now. It's because they didn't read the way that they maybe should have. And I'm one of them, and I thankfully I don't have a podcast that, like some of those people. But point is, it wasn't until December 2022 where I realized, oh my gosh, it's been like literally a decade since I hadn't sat down and really like with a book and actually like learned from something. And then because I had just graduated, I felt called to go back and read, and I have been since. And I do wish I went back to some of those books that like we were growing up.
Time.
Yes, absolutely. You spoke about co-creation, right? Co-creating with community. That is huge. A lot of the work that I do is tied to youth co-creation, co-creating with BIPOC folks. Like, you have to build together and you have to build for like your own people. And then you also spoke to storytelling, and storytelling is a tool mechanism that will never be stripped from us. Like, we are here today and we know what we know because of the stories that our ancestors have passed down to us and will continue to. So I'm all for storytelling, and that's why even we as creatives in this room like are showing up and building communities using that same mechanism that again, our ancestors did. What I find so interesting as a Cuban myself is that so many Cubans in this country are becoming increasingly patriotic. The nationalism is increasing despite the leaders who are making decisions when it comes to our livelihoods, making active decisions that essentially harm us more than help our community. So I'm surprised that more and more Latinos are starting to become more nationalistic in their viewpoints. And I think that's worth discussing and interrogating a bit more.
You know what's so interesting about this? And I think about the same thing, the rise in American sort of nationalism within the Latino community a lot. I wonder, have you thought about how like religion and conservative values sort of come into play with this, in this issue? Because I think that's something that is definitely sort of pushing people in that direction, people that are hyper religious and super into America.
I agree that religion is probably a big factor in Latinos' connection to religion, especially in the US. I find from personal experience that a lot of Latinos identify with more conservative viewpoints, and therefore the argument around abortion might be really appealing to them right now. That in combination with a number of other factors, but it's still so confusing to me because even when we think about immigration, right, and the attack on immigration and certain things that have been said when it comes to the Latino community, it's still like there's still some dissonance that I'm navigating. I'm surprised that people are surprised that by striking down affirmative action, obviously we're going to see less Black and brown folks enrolled in universities and colleges, because it was like the one protective measure we had to at least try to quote unquote like equal out or balance out the like playing field when it came to school. And as someone who like came from a high school that didn't have as many like resources, it was huge for me to know that there was at least a mechanism out there that like I was being like supported by, or that was at least like trying to provide some of that like equilibrium. There was like the LLC movement on Twitter, where everyone and their moms was like signing.
You gotta make it LLC.
Yeah, they're like, you have to make it LLC or you're failing at life. And I'm just like, hold, like chill. I do have
Not everyone needs an LLC.
But I do have an LLC, I will say. I am one of those, but it works out for me. Anyway, the second thing is this like kind of narrative that we need to commodify our creativity at all times. Like, hey, it's one thing, we're creators. I get we have to monetize to sustain ourselves. That's one thing. But I feel like every time you are like, oh, I'm good at creating this, or I can like, knit this thing, people are like, oh, you should open a shop.
Yeah, not everything needs to be a job.
Not everything needs to be a job. We can just do things for fun. So
bring back the joy of doing things you love.
Period, without having to work.
Always making money.
Exactly.
Want to keep seeing if everything is fine? Subscribe, comment, and like, and we can keep figuring it out together.